Think your bank is too big to fail? Anthropic's new AI just proved otherwise. Behind closed door at firms like Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan, the panic isn't about a market crash. It's about a technology that makes their entire infrastructure obsolete overnight. Anthropic, the company that builds Claude, just released a model called Mythos, and within hours it found and exploited a 17-year-old vulnerability in FreeBSD that no human could detect in 2 decades. FreeBSD is the operating system that most bank uses. FreeBSD runs inside the infrastructure of a bank, telecom carrier, and internet service provider worldwide. So what happens when that same model turns its attention to the code that settles your checking account? COBOL, a programming language older than the moon landing, it still processes 95% of all ATM transactions and supports more than 40% of core banking system globally. $3 trillion move through COBOL every single day. And there are 220 billion lines of code running right now, with 1.5 billion more written every single year. But here is the problem nobody in the banking wants to say it out loud. The language outlived the programmers. Over 60% of the COBOL engineers in Japan are past 50. And in the United States, the talent pipeline is even thinner. Universities stopped teaching COBOL decades ago. The banks are running on a $3 trillion a day operation on code maintained by a shrinking pool of specialists who learned to code before the internet existed. Therefore, these systems have never faced a real adversary, because no adversary was fast enough to audit more than 200 billion lines of code looking for the one line that fails. Mythos does not care about the talent shortage, but what exactly did it prove it could do? In early April this year, Anthropic announced that Mythos has identified more than thousands of vulnerabilities in every major operating system and every major web browsers. Not dozens, thousands. And 2 days later, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Fed Chair Jerome Powell summoned the CEOs of major banks like Citigroup and Goldman Sachs to an emergency meeting. The subject was not a market crash. It was not a foreign attack. It was a single AI model. And the question was, what happens when something like this is aimed at the financial systems? Because the UK alone logged more than 150 banking IT failure between January 2023 and 2025. 33 days of downtime on system running on code written before the email existed. If Mythos cracked FreeBSD in 6 hours, how long would the banking mainframe take? This is the scenario regulator will not name publicly: a synthetic bank run. Not customers lining up at the branches, not a social media panic. Something faster, an AI-driven cascade, autonomous system identifying vulnerabilities in settlement infrastructures, exploiting latency in human speed verification, and triggering withdrawals faster than any compliance team can respond. Sounds very, very scary. A traditional bank run moves at the speed of fear. A synthetic one moves at the speed of computation. And it does not need a single depositor to panic. The banking system's defense has always been opacity. You trust your bank because you cannot see inside it. But Mythos is a model that sees inside everything. And Anthropic deliberately chose not to release it to the public because the risk of abuse was too high. They launched Project Glasswing instead, giving Mythos to JP Morgan Chase, Apple, Google, Microsoft for defensive purposes. But defense assumes you are the only one with the weapon. Anthropic built Mythos. That means the architecture is possible, and every major AI lab on the earth is now working towards the same capability threshold. So if every closed log can now be read by machines, what is the only log that was designed to be read but keeps things secure? Bitcoin. Not because it is popular, not because it is political, because its security model is the inverse of everything banking was built on. Banks rely on secrecy, hidden code, closed systems, and trust in institutions. Bitcoin relies on transparency, open source code, public ledger, and trust in mathematics. The entire protocol is visible to every machine on Earth, and its security comes not from hiding flaws but having none worth exploiting at current computational limits. A study by the Bitcoin Public Institute tested 36 AI model from 6 providers across more than 9,000 monetary scenarios. Over 90% rejected fiat currency. Bitcoin dominated store of value section for 79%. Not a single model chose fiat as its top preference. Therefore, in a world where AI can audit any closed system faster than a human can patch it, the only durable monetary network is one that was built to be audited from the day one. But does knowing this actually changes anything for you? The banking system is not collapsing tomorrow, but its security model is now probably obsolete. Mythos demonstrated that obscurity is no longer a defense. Every institution running legacy core is operating on borrowed time, and the window between vulnerability discovery and exploitation just compressed from years to hours. Hope you enjoyed this video. My name is Sean, and if you really liked it, then please press the like button. And if you're interested what is coming up next, then please subscribe. See you in the next one.